We will open the meeting at 5:30. We will start with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Collis.
Yes.
Winchester.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Burton.
Here.
Ruth.
Here. Now, Chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Clerk Winchester.
Support.
Support by Trustee Burton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do not have consent agenda tonight, being a special meeting. We didn't need it. That will bring us to public comment. We don't have anybody from the public other than our three presenters. So we will start out with Brian Coburn, manager. I don't know what PE stands for.
Professional engineer.
Professional Engineer, Manager, Oakland County Water Resource Commission Office.
Good afternoon? Question mark. I'm so happy to be here. Again, my name's Brian Coburn. I'm one of the managers at WRC. I'm part of Jim Nash's leadership group. He's the Water Resource Commissioner for the County of Oakland. I am here to give you an update on the Northwest Oakland Sewer Project that we've started probably about 4 years ago. And I've been here probably 3 or 4 times to share with you updates. And I'm here probably for the biggest update, which is that we're almost to the point of having capacity. So that's the tagline at the end. I'll go through the presentation that you have in your packet. So the second slide in the packet shows the phasing of the project. The first phase of the project is what we're really talking about tonight. That is the project in Genesee County that's being developed by them to serve their communities, but also to be oversized to serve the communities in Northwest Oakland County. So that's a $35 million project, and we've worked with them to limit, with Genesee County, to limit the share for Oakland County to $10 million, which is the same amount that has been pledged by the Board of Commissioners to fund the project. We've gone through committee with the Board of Commissioners, and tonight they're meeting to finally appropriate the money. So after this meeting and the meeting with the Board of Commissioners, we should be ready to roll. And again, bolded on there, no cost to Oakland County communities. We did this all with ARPA funds through the county. Phase 2 and Phase 3 are future phases. They're very expensive, $49 million and $59 million respectively, and they're currently unfunded. We are actively searching for funds. These would have to be, grant funds of some sort to make it affordable, because, if you distribute the cost to everybody, it's like $20,000 per house.
Wow.
So that's
Yeah.
right. So you need to get outside funding to make this happen. So this project will, and that's why we went through this multiple petition process, is to make sure that each step of the way everyone's comfortable and prepared with what we're doing. So we'll be back again for Phase 2 and Phase 3 before they happen, with funding in hand, hopefully again, to make those happen. So the next slide, slide 3, shows the work completed to date. We started this in 2019 with a letter from Genesee County. We talked to the stakeholders, which was the communities, the parks, the county, anybody who had any interest in this project at all. Developed a feasibility report in 2021, and I presented that to the communities last year. And then we collected $200,000 from the communities to help us with our legal and engineering costs to get to the point we are today. And we got to the point where we have an agreement. So a lot's happened over the past 4 years. I just wanted to take a minute to share that for the folks that are newer. Next slide is slide 4. It highlights the purchase agreement. This is the Phase 1 agreement. It's the topic of the petition tonight. Two big things on this is that we capped it at $10 million, so there's no liability to the local communities outside of the ARPA funds that were already provided to us. And then the other communities in Genesee County have shown an interest in participating, which dropped our participation to 28.5%. So the more people who are involved, the more costs get spread out. So that was a benefit to us as well. A couple other points. They are holding future capacity for us. They're holding 1,900 units. It's equivalent of a single family house. They're holding those for us or anybody else who wants it, but we have right of first refusal in our agreement. So we have 120 days to decide whether or not we want to give up this capacity. It's 14% that's reserved for us. but there's no obligation for us to purchase that in the future. So we're very flexible in how we set up this agreement. Slide 5 shows the cost allocation, and as you can see, Northwest Oakland Sanitary District is 28.5%, 4,000 units, $10 million cost. Then on the graph, you can see that 14% reserve capacity and the 28% for Northwest Oakland County. If you just think of that as a pipe, that's the section of the pipe that we own, just as a visual. Grand Blanc Township is the bulk of the project. They're 43%, and their cost is about $15 million. On the next slide, it shows the breakdown by community. Again, you guys are paying nothing. That's highlighted in the table. Oakland County's paying the $10 million. And then, like I said, we're getting 4,000 units now. The ultimate, based on the study, was 6,000. So that gap is what is available for us to purchase in the future. So we matched our purchase to what we had financially to make it all work. Okay.
Before you go any further, I just want to mention, this is one of the parts of this job I never like, but sometimes it's important. We got this $10 million by working with Alyssa Slotkin's office, and she helped us make that happen. And I just want people to understand that this wasn't just the county said, oh, hey guys, how much do you want? It wasn't like that. We worked close with Brian. We've been working on this project, as you said, for 3 years, and the help in pulling that across the line belongs to her office. And I just want that known, because we had to call her twice and get her involved.
And absolutely. She also gave us a local congressional, they're earmarks, I don't know what to call them now, but an earmark of $1 million towards the next phase of this project. So that helps with the engineering to get us onto the next phase to better determine costs and start scoping how that future looks. So.
And as we go forward looking for more money, when those happen, I will be sure to make it known who gets credit for helping us get that, because this hasn't been an easy accomplishment,
right?
Unfortunately. Go ahead.
Sure. So next slide is slide 7, shows the petition process. So again, I presented this, I think, a year ago. And really, the gray one is the study. That's what we're in right now. That's what you guys authorized with the last petition that I came with you. The green one is the current petition. This is the KCI project, the $10 million. And then we'll be back again for phase 2 and for phase 3. So I just want to make sure you guys are very aware that we're coming back again when we have funds to build the future phases.
And understand also, when you look at future 2 and future 3, future 2 is us. Future 3 is Brandon and Ortonville.
Correct. Yes. Thank you. Good distinction.
So we don't have a future 3 to be looking at. We're just part of future 2.
And then flipping over to the next slide, it's just phase 1 petition on it. I think it's slide 8. This kind of takes you in depth into what the petition's for. Really, the petition is part of the drain code, which is a state law that we use for sanitary sewer systems also. So we have a drain board, and they facilitate the decision-making process that's needed, and the transparency and financial oversight. So what this does, it says to the board, we're ready to go. We're on board. We agree with what we've presented in this petition, and the $10 million, and we're good. And those are presented to the board, and then we move on to the next phase of the project. So I just wanted to make sure you guys knew what you were approving before you were to vote on it. And then slide 9 shows kind of the next steps. This is an old version because you guys are the last of the 4 communities that I get to present to, but we've been meeting for 2 months with the communities, making these presentations, getting support. The Drain Board approved the agreement at their meeting on Tuesday. So the agreement is approved pending approval by the Board of Commissioners at 6 o'clock tonight of the appropriation, and then we can sign the agreement tomorrow and send that off to Genesee County, and they start design. So again, no physical connection. There'll be a few, but not serving the township until phase 2. But this at least provides the capacity in that pipe for the future, so you can control. And
I can tell you, I have spoke to Bob Hoffman. He has support from other commissioners, including Democrats, with Mike Spiz and some of the other fellows down there. So that should go through. Mm-hmm. We're not expecting a problem with it.
Yeah, it passed 7-1 in one of the committees and 8-0 in the other committee, so yeah. I don't expect any issues. But that's why I'm here.
I know, but I just want the public to understand that we have to work these phones. We have to be on there, and all these little meetings that come along, you have to be at every one of them, because as you know, one of them went sideways on us,
Mhm.
and we had to get Alyssa Slotkin involved again. And so it's a process for sure.
So the last slide in the pack is just the summary, and just these are the take-home points for you. Is we have an agreement; it's going to be signed. Hopefully, I have $10 million tonight, and then we're going to start looking at the next phase design, which is that $1 million from Slotkin's office, and we're going to keep looking for grants and opportunities. And we're working in Lansing right now on funding because we're very concerned with how the funding is working right now, where it's kind of a 90-10. Like you pay 90 and then get a loan, and then they pay 10% of the loan, and that's not real helpful to build infrastructure. So we're working in Lansing and trying to make some changes to how some of these loans and grant programs operate. So just because it's a big number and it's scary now doesn't mean it can never happen. So that's all I have unless you guys have questions for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to our business. For those that may watch this on the video at home, this special meeting is part 2 from our Township Board meeting. We announced it at that meeting that we would be holding it. We had so many things that night. That meeting already went over 2 hours. And with the presentation tonight and the other visitors we had, this meeting was necessary to complete the business. So you could pretty much call this new business as we move forward. The first thing on the agenda is the petition for the Oakland County Drain Board, proposed resolution 2023-09. It is in your packet. It is in front of you.
I would move to oppose the petition to Oakland County Drainage Board, proposed resolution 2023-09.
And is there support?
Support.
So we have motion by Clerk Winchester, support by Trustee Burton. I appreciate people being eager to support these things because we've put a lot of work to get us here. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Ruth?
Nope.
He's our resident engineer, so I always turn to him. Sometimes he comes up with questions that the rest of us wouldn't even have thought
It
of.
says no charging free, that's all I need to know.
That was a lot of work getting it that
Yes,
way.
it was. All right. Roll call, please.
Winchester.
Yes.
Ryan. Yes. Burton.
Yes.
Ruth.
Yes.
Collis.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Mr. Coburn, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Now, we will go to AKA New Township Office Architect Services proposal. If Scott, you'd like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good evening. I think I've met most of you prior. Jen, Ms. Ryan, I haven't met you in the past, but happy to have you part of the team and look forward to working with you in the future here. So thanks for your time and your consideration. We've obviously been working with you on the new Township Hall project. It's kind of switched gears here recently, and I think a great direction. We just met out on the site talking about the potential, and what this is doing is essentially a kind of a preliminary exploration, right? We're going to look at some concepts, some opportunities similar to the Farmstead site in the sense that, you know, there was a master plan, there's some ideas put forth. We want to do the same thing with this this property. You guys have already kind of decided to proceed with it. You know, we've met a few times. We have existing drawings. We've met with HRC, you know, to discuss some preliminary thoughts on that also. So I think it's very exciting, and we want to kind of take all of those efforts that we had previously and convert them over to this building, right? And I think the nice thing about this is, you know, we can look at a couple of different options and maybe perspectives. You know, Karen and I were chatting about maybe a few angles that we approach this. You know, is this going to be, you know, 0 to 10, and then maybe there's another phase 2. You know, all of that kind of future proofing that we were talking about in the all new facility. I think we can still do that here, and ultimately there's some great inherent value to that property as a baseline. So. In front of you tonight is a service for professional services, hourly not to exceed, that does similar to our previous proposals. You know, it's exploration. We are an Oakland County approved vendor, part of their G2G, so that's why A, you've used us in the past, but B, can continue to use us via that contract and that fulfills public bid requirements because we've already been vetted through their interview processes. So I'm here for any questions, comments, concerns, and look forward to the opportunity to work with you guys some more.
Well, the only question I had, it says existing facility drawings.
Yep.
What does that mean?
So part of, there are existing PDF drawings that we are supplied, so part of kind of this first step is putting the existing building back into AutoCAD or Revit, right? So that's gonna be our baseline, and then that becomes kind of the basis moving forward. So there is deliverables that would be, you know, essentially your value walking away, whether you're to continue to proceed with the purchase, you know, or decide to kind of pause it as it sits.
Okay. So you're gonna take those existing facility drawings, put them into AutoCAD.
Correct. It's a small portion of the
yeah.
overall picture, but just kind of speaking of, hey, this is what we found. You know, we've discussed on site about, you know, opportunities. You know, where might there be, you know, areas where we want to put money in first, those kind of things. So it's going to be kind of a hybrid facility review / concept of where we think we want to go from here. So gives us a little more framework versus just an open-ended question, but rather maybe some, you know, options or schemes of deciding what avenue we want to head down next if we decide to do so.
Okay.
Okay, what is the board's pleasure?
I would move to approve the service proposal from AKA for the new township offices.
Motion by Clerk Winchester, is there support?
Support.
Support by Treasurer Ryan. Any further discussion? None appearing. Roll call, please.
Ryan? Yes. Burton?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
Collis?
Yes,
Winchester?
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mr.
the
Reynolds.
opportunity, and we're gonna get to work here expeditiously,
Yes.
so thank you so much.
All right,
Please enjoy the
Appreciate
holiday
your
weekend
time.
too. Thank
thank
you.
you. Now, Mr. Balin from HRC, the other half, the engineering side.
Well, good evening, everyone. Again, I'm John Ballant from HRC. I believe I've met most of you before, except as Ms. Ryan. Look forward to working with you all in the future. Again, John Ballant, HRC. In front of you today is a proposal from us regarding a next phase for the Holly Township Farmstead project. We've been working on this project for a couple years now, probably 3 years now. Actually, that's the whole time I've been at HRC. So we've been working on this, you know, knocking off little pieces at a time. So this is a proposal for work primarily at the south end of the property. The township has worked with, and I can't remember the name of the company that is looking to build the pavilion. Shannon. So a company has offered to provide a pavilion to the township. This is partially part of this proposal, as you'll see in like task 2, is for, you know, coordination and design to support that pavilion. With the pavilion, you need a foundation. You'll probably need some soil boring, some structural review, for some structural design for a foundation, so that it can handle wind loads and snow loads. And items like that is in addition to where it's being placed, it's close to or in the floodplain. So there's some permitting that goes along with that with Eagle, and, you know, just dealing with the soils and making sure that that's going to be a good structure and it's not going to move on you, you know, during different events. So that's part of that. The next part is the farm road and the circulation pathway design. In the original layout for the farmstead, there's a center, what we call the center farm road, that runs right down the middle, north to south, basically from the north house all the way to the north end of the property. The goal in this part to get that built is to create a way to move through the property. Right now it's very wet and it's just difficult to traverse the property. If you were working there, or if you were visiting and wanted to, let's say, go to the pavilion, it'd be hard to get into the property without that farm road. It also provides the opportunity to create a parking area and kind of fits that into the right spot. So, and in addition to that, they're currently working on the contractor's currently working on the Ernst barn. So with that placed, we can set up that farm road so that it's in the right spot, and again, helping that contractor and providing better use for the property at this point. The other portion of that part is the circulation pathway, which will be a walking path for the property, and it'll go around the south end of the property so that you can access the property, and it'll make the property usable now, once it is complete. The next portion is the event barn grading. This is a very small portion of this. There's there's stockpiled dirt behind the current event barn, and we would do, as part of the other portions, we would look to lose that dirt on the site somewhere. So we just want to make sure that that wasn't forgotten. It's really a little to no cost once you have a contractor out there to move that dirt and just, spread it around. And then the task 3 on this would be the
Before
staking.
you leave the grading,
Sorry.
at the same time, you'll be handling the grading and allowing, because we need 2 concrete pads that have never, when we finished picking up the barn and putting it back down, all of that work was done. There are no pads outside those doors behind the barn. So you literally have the barn floor just drops. And there needs to be a pad by the people door. And then the 2 larger barn doors need to have pads, because right now the rain comes down and it's creating that rut.
Yep.
And it's right there. So
Yep.
that needs to be a part of.
Yep, I'll add that in there. That's like grading design, which we already kind of
Yep.
have for the
Well,
pavilion in and of itself.
I wanted the board to understand that would be part of it, because eventually we're going to have to come back and have a price for the concrete pads.
Mhm, yep.
Okay.
And then the third part would be staking for the fence along North Holly. We've already got all the information to do that because we've done the topo from the North House North. And as part of the pavilion design and the farm road design, we would add survey that runs from the North House to the south end of the property. We didn't do that initially just because we were trying to just save on some costs, because primarily our work on these other proposals, our design work was at the north end of the property, or from the North House North. So we would add that in there, and then staking is literally just taking that file and having the fence layout. So it's kind of as simple as picking out a fence, and then we can go out and stake it with our survey crews. So that's pretty much the items in this proposal. And are there any questions?
It says grading for the Township Hall building. What does that mean?
So we had done, that's in this proposal, or is that in the memo? That's in the
That's in the
memo,
memo.
which I haven't really covered yet. So we had done, as our part of our previous proposal, there were some items kind of added in. As we were working on that proposal, there were other opportunities that needed to be kind of worked on. And so we started working with AKA Architects and working on grading design so that they knew how to, where to place and how to place a building in the area on the farmstead. So some of the things, so this memo, I might as well cover this now. So as part of writing this new proposal, we wanted to kind of cover what we've done already, where we've been, and where things stand to date. And so this memo kind of goes through those kind of step by step proposal dates, proposal amounts, and where some things have maybe changed along the lines. And then it kind of ends up with, a summary on the second page of our original budget, where some of the monies were spent, and then what's remaining to date on that particular proposal. So, I don't know, you want me to go through all these line by line?
No, but I think it's important to
Yeah.
note, we learned a lot
Yes.
as we went through that process. And some of what we learned is what made us make the decision to switch gears and buy the property we bought. At the same time, some of the stuff we learned, it will be there when we come back to it, because as we move forward on the farmstead project, no, we are no longer putting the township office there. But we have a building that originally we thought would be on the north end. That building may find itself moving up in the place of the old township building, and that will make it better for the septic field that has to exist on that property at some point anyway.
Yep.
So they're not all lost
So,
expenses.
yeah, it's good to point out, there's little to no actual lost work here.
Right.
There's work, it's just maybe for a different building now. We had to do the geotechnical, we had to do the surveying, we had to do the infiltration testing, so that we know
And now
how
we
to
know all of
design
that, we
things.
know where, whatever building goes there, we know where it has to go,
Yeah.
how it has to go in. Because we have on the original conceptual plan for the farmstead, we have a real, a retail building that shows on the north end of the property. And the concept for that building was that things that are grown or meat that is produced from the farmstead, it would give the farmstead an opportunity to sell that product. At the same time, it was considered an area that if you had kids from the schools coming on a field trip, they would have a room to come in and have their milk and cookies or take their break. And in our meeting with Michigan State, when they talked about programs that would help sustain the farmstead program, their question was, if you put a commercial kitchen in there, then it gives us an opportunity to do farm-to-table classes. Karen and I went out to Bloomfield Township's
Bowers Farm?
Bauer Farm,
Bauer
thank you.
Farm.
The Bauer Farm. And we actually saw a building where you can come in, they had the commercial kitchen attached. They had a freezer area, and I think we bought meat that night and came home because they raise the cattle, they butcher it, they bring the meat in, and residents can come in and buy it. So as we looked at that building, we also visited Tollgate, and Tollgate has a barn, and then they have a wing built off of the barn where they have a conference center that's a little bit bigger than this room, maybe another half again as big. It's a conference center that they rent out to different groups to come in and have functions. And in that conference center, they also had a kitchen. They were able to do a lunch or do a banquet type
We
thing.
did a class there.
We took a class there when we were there. So there's different opportunities for that building. And we may end up well, I think we've already talked about it. We'll probably take that building from the far north end, bring it over to where the township office was thought to be. And it will become, because it'll also have that parking lot there that serves it. And you're gonna have to have a parking lot for this property.
Yeah, it'll save money in the long run with
Yep.
one parking lot and then spreading the buildings out, having them a little closer together, more accessible for everybody to use.
And I can tell you, I have kept our donors apprised of some of the changes we've made, and they're not on board, they like what they hear. So, we're still moving in a positive direction in both cases.
Yes.
What is the pleasure of the board?
I would move to approve the HRC Farmstead Engineering Service proposal.
Motion by Clerk Winchester, is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Trustee Burton. Is there any more discussion? Mr. Ruth?
What are we getting for the remaining $18,000? Specifically.
So in our,
I'm sorry.
what we were looking at to, goal with that is just to let it sit for now. Because that $18,000 is part of the phase 2 proposal, where there's still work to be done, but I think because of the change in the moving of the township hall, or not putting the township hall on that property, I think we need time to reassess what to do there exactly, and to look at buildings and layouts and stuff like that for there, so that we know. The hardest part with this is not knowing how to design a parking lot if you don't know what building is going to be there, or the size of the building, or the layout of the building. The worst thing we could do is build something and then have to rip it out and change it later. So all of the majority of the base work is done. Like I mentioned, the survey, the geotechnical, we've done stormwater scoping, we've done elevation with our geotechnical, looking at groundwater, and how you could put, the best way to put a building there with a basement, without a basement, 2 stories.
Yep.
We kind of did all that scoping with looking at the Township Hall building on the property. So,
And we actually have 3 different parking lots drawn.
yes, yeah, we have
Depending
the
on
parking
what-
lots drawn, we have, so the base of the work is all there. Now it's just decisions about what we're putting there and sizes and layouts before we can really move forward. It's hard, you know, again, you don't want to design something, if it's a paved parking lot or a gravel parking lot, regardless, it's a lot of money to put in something in and then have to rip it out because, oh, I wish I would have put the building there and not the parking lot.
And because we're bringing the Ernst barn in, we're gonna need that road down the middle. We're gonna need parking. Bringing in the fence, it's going to allow us to make the Ernst barn usable. We should be able by next summer to get the community garden back up and running
Yep.
and start to breathe some life into this project.
And that farm road will be key for the gardening,
Yep.
the community garden.
Yeah, because he pulled in with one of his trailers with his equipment, and he went right down to the axles. You have to understand, that property for 100 years has been plowed up field. So it's not like a compacted road base. It's not used to that at all. So, in fact, when they used to hold plow days there, they often had to cancel them because the tractors couldn't get through. It was too early in the spring. So by getting that center down and getting a road base so you can actually drive on it, that makes a difference. All right, is there any other discussion?
I mean, I just wasn't here for the first phases of the project. I noticed it says that contractors are selected by direct solicitation. I just want to make sure that's okay. I don't know how that interacts with our purchasing policies or anything
So-
like that.
Do you want to explain that, or I can explain what I know? Normally, we have to go out for bid process. The county, Oakland County, did a whole bid process so that the local municipalities could use that process, so that each of us weren't doing 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. They have a standard that's approved by the state of contractors that already meet the requirements. And we've pulled from that. HRC has been our engineer through our planning and development of the township, so we've worked with them for quite some time.
So then anything we hire underneath them is just considered like a subcontractor,
Mhm.
flows through that.
Yeah, well, and so with the bidding, so the idea with that is you can save a lot of money if you don't actually have to publicly advertise certain times. So if you can go through that process through the county approved vendors, it saves money because then you're more helping select the contractor based
So
on.
the contractors you choose for any other work that you're not doing
Well,
is
and-
also on that list?
The township would be choosing, we wouldn't be choosing
Okay.
contractors. for
Yeah,
you,
we would
right?
be, but as he said, the other thing that's nice about it is because they've been vetted,
Yeah, I mean, I've used my deals and stuff before.
Yeah.
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 That way you can trust the work's gonna be done right. They have a reputation that's known around the county.
And if they don't do a good job, they get kicked off the list, and that's really
That's-
bad.
Yeah, it gives us a little more buying power than we would typically have as little old Holly,
Right.
kind of thing. Any more discussion? Mr. Ruth, looks like there's a
Well-
question.
Yes, I still don't understand the remaining monies. Is that part of the original approved budget?
Yes.
Yes.
So it was already approved?
Yeah.
It was,
Even if
we just haven't spent it yet.
If we, gotcha.
Right,
So
so it's just a
regardless-
status letter.
Regardless, we have to spend it.
Yeah, and the whole purpose of this was to say, you know, you get, the township approved us to do, you know, to
Yep.
spend this money,
Yep.
and we haven't spent it all, we've spent some of it, but not all of it. And to
Okay.
kind of, more of like an accounting of where we've been.
Yes.
And as we move forward, when we go and focus back on that building, those invoices, they'll get pumped back over to
Yeah.
that one.
Okay. All set.
All right, any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Burton,
Yes.
Ruth,
Yes?
Winchester,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Collis.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Balin, we appreciate you and your time, and we'll be talking. I will move on to number 4, appointment of a planning commissioner, term ending 12/31/25. This is a bittersweet appointment for me. If you remember our last meeting, we had a moment of silence for Doug Henderson. Doug and I have known each other our whole life and played in the same neighborhoods and been in and out of each other's lives over the years. Doug was a hell of a guy, worked for Albridge Aldinger, was a project manager. He's been in here, you've talked to him before. Unfortunately, he passed away, and that leaves us an opening on the Planning Commission. I said it was bittersweet. I've had an opportunity to come to know Ryan Matson. He has actually been a candidate for the Planning Commission for the village and has been passed up a couple of times, and that makes us the lucky recipients. He's got a background. Mr. Matson, would you like to come up and talk to the board?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your time this evening and consideration. So, a little bit of my history. Licensed realtor for the state of Michigan for the past 3 years. I've done anything from residential, commercial, vacant land sales, really heavily focused on learning my first year. Really became interested in networking, connecting, investment real estate, so well connected with heavy hitter investors that there are own builders, architects, all the things. I've lived in Holly since October of 22. We've come to love this area. It's the perfect blend of where we grew up in Macomb County and where we lived previous in St. Louis, so it kind of gives that smaller, quaint hometown feel.
Just to be clear, that's St. Louis, Michigan.
Correct, yes, sir. Thank you. Yes.
2020, is that wrong date?
I said 2020.
Oh.
Maybe I did.
Actually, you said 22.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, she's always right, so.
Yes.
So you can see I exercise good judgment. Other professional experience. Currently, I work full time as an operations manager for an ABA center. So we provide behavioral services for autistic kiddos. In my time there, I have been an integral part of growing the business over 400%.
So you have patience.
Extreme patience, yes.
You would have to.
We're looking to add a second building in our county because our facility no longer can house all the kiddos and clients we've been able to successfully bring on since my time there. I've since started traveling to other centers to help other operations managers in my position to grow their business and help them to develop their centers. Previous to that, I had a long history in retail as a store manager mostly. So I've worked for big box retailers such as Kroger, Five Below, Hobby Lobby, Levi Strauss. So very familiar with budgets, planning, scheduling, payroll, labor, all the things, as well as interacting with customers and that principle that the customer is always right. But when you boil it down, I'm just excellent with people. So yes, we'll be dealing with future planning, ordinances, the future of Holly, so to speak. But these are open meetings. The public are here, and we're here to listen to their opinion and deal with the public as well. So I think interacting with people in that relationship and being able to build rapport is just as important as my professional history. So. That's a very small snippet of me, but if you have any questions or anything for me, I am here for you.
Any questions for the board? I want to bring Ryan Matson's name forward to fill the position on the Planning Commission, term ending December 31st of 2025. I will put that in a motion form. I move to appoint Ryan Matson to our Planning Commission for term ending 12/31/25. Is there support?
Support.
Motion by Supervisor Cullis, support by Clerk Winchester. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Matson, welcome aboard.
Thank you so much. I'm humble and honored at the opportunity, and I'm super excited to hear all of the future things already in place, like exciting to hear about this farmstead project. I love the purchase of the Dawson building. I think it's huge, and huge as in huge for Holly, and having the additional acreage and stuff, just our minds at home just went buzzing with all the possibilities. So it's just fabulous that I'll be able to be a part of that. So thank you. I greatly appreciate the opportunity.
All right, thank you. Number 5 on business is an appointment of a township board member to the ZBA. If you go to the Division 2 Zoning Board of Appeals under the Michigan State law, number 2, the second member of the Zoning Board of Appeals shall be a member of the township board. We currently have Pam Masick, a member of the ZBA. She is a member of our planning commission. That fits that requirement. We have a citizen at large on the ZBA.
They're just residents.
Well, that's what I meant. It's not a board member.
No,
It's a resident,
Right.
citizen at large.
yeah.
Yeah, and
I guess
that's
that's what you call them.
that's Chuck Stoner, right?
Chuck, Josh,
Chuck, Josh Murphy,
Tim Turpinning,
and Tim Turpning.
Alan Monsney, he's the alternate. And then there's Pam.
So we need a board member to fill that
Yes,
position.
we-
And Karen can't do that because she's the zoning administrator.
Right, because I had, before I had served, but rarely do we meet. We haven't met since
This is the second time.
2016, so we have
I
one
thought you
coming
meant for
up.
Mr. Cruikshank.
Pardon?
Didn't Cruikshank have that?
No, that was planning
Oh,
commission.
planning, okay. Yeah, so they don't happen very often, but
Rare, yeah,
with
we
things-
have one coming up on the 30th.
with development going forward, there's a potential for more.
Right.
So we need a board member to sit on that. I know, Mr. Burton, you're on planning commission, Karen, you're zoning, so you two are out. It's between the 3 of us.
Are you looking for a volunteer? I guess I volunteer.
Oh,
Okay. Well, as opposed to voluntold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay. So,
because I think you were going to be volunteer.
that's what I said. Well, that's why I was kind of looking, because I thought if somebody was actually excited about it, I'm always willing to go with that. But I was watching Mr. Ruth, and he was really kind of pushing you along over there. All right, so I would make a motion that we, actually, I don't need to, is that by motion, or can I?
It should be.
Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint Treasurer Ryan to the ZBA.
And support.
And there's support by Clerk Winchester. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Just to verify, the 30th of June? Or
May.
May? Okay,
Like
Like,
next week.
yes.
okay.
That's why we had to get this done, because we noticed we didn't have anybody. Yeah, because it's been so long.
Well, yeah, I asked Alan, because he's the alternate, so we have 5.
Oh.
So, but if you're more than welcome, and I can have Alan stay home.
Well, but she has to by requirement. There has to be a board member.
Yep,
Yeah, so it's not just the 5, it's
right.
meeting the requirement. Okay, next is the gravel program. We started this program when I first got elected. We did the northwest corner of the township in the first 3 years. That was a $250,000 project. We then moved to the southern part of the township along Fish Lake Road. We came across and covered some Tucker over in that area. Now we are along Fagan and up Quick Road from North Holly over. Quick Road from North Holly to Fish Lake has already been done. This will be Quick Road from North Holly over to Fagan and up that way. The program has slowed down from what we initially thought. When we first set out to do this program, we were pretty aggressive. Gravel was costing us about $14 a ton. Now it's up to $24 a ton, almost doubled, which meant we've slowed down how much area we can do. This contract, our tri-party funds are $60,689. because it's called tri-party funds, that means we pay 1/3, which would be 20,000 and a little over, right around $200. Is there an actual number on here for that? Yeah, 20,230. That's 100% of our contribution to that. That's what we're asking you to approve in this participation agreement.
So, just out of curiosity, who is the board?
Us.
Okay, who's the community then?
No, that would be the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, and then the county would be the road commission.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I was going to say, when you said who's the board, I thought we are.
Yeah, right. That's
I didn't know what you were referencing.
I would move to approve the 2023 gravel program.
support.
Motion by Clerk Winchester, support by Trustee Burton. Any further discussion? None appearing. Roll call, please.
Ruth,
Yes.
Winchester,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Burton,
Yes.
Collis.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. So we are down to number 7, which is the Treasurer's Department administrative resumes. Did you have a chance to rank them? And bring those, yep, we'll collect those.
Okay, this is.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have a hard time understanding what that means, though.
Well, let me see.
Oh,
Let me see how hard.
Okay. Left is the ranked number, then they're done by their letter. But I
Yeah,
got
no, this is
scribbles, I
easy.
got marks.
No,
okay.
this is easy, because
All
the ABC is simple. Nope,
Okay.
this is simple.
All right.
Why do I only have 3?
Well, because mine's a pretty, also kind of cryptic, but I just picked out yeses and nos. There's 6 yeses and the rest were nos.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
That's-
Can you put the 6 in order? Or I guess it doesn't matter.
Right, because we have to decide how many are we
Right.
doing, how,
Right.
I'm assuming we'll kind of see where the numbers lay out and if there's
Yes.
clearly like a big divide.
Well, what I'm gonna do tonight is I'll collect these, we will have them, we will tally them all together, and then we'll have to look at bringing them in for interviews at the top.
aren't we gonna do that right now?
Well, the problem is, everybody's done this a little differently. Actually, Derek's isn't, I don't know whose this one is, but this must be yours.
That's me. Well, because it was, yeah, 8, so each one had a letter,
I
and
know,
then I ranked it.
I know, but he's in order A through U with numbers. You're in order 1 through 21 with letters, so I have to transpose, I'm gonna have to put it all on a chart to figure it out.
Oh, okay.
Because there are 21. That's the good news. We had 21 people apply. But what I'd like to do is just be able to take it, put it together, print out the list. The list, when we did the treasurer's position, the list pretty much dictated when we totaled it. There were, I think there were 9 applicants for that one. And when we tallied the numbers, we had a clear 3 on the top. We had a clear 3 in the middle and a clear 3 on the bottom. And we ran with that. I think when we're done here, we're gonna have a clear somewhere between 3 and 5, or as Mr. Roos said, 6. There's gonna be a pretty clear break.
Yeah.
But because there are 21 of them, and each list was done differently,
I did mine both ways.
huh?
I did mine both.
Yeah, you did your both way. Karen did one, he did the other. So I think it'll be simpler to calculate it all and come back with those numbers. And we'll have all of this on record, so everybody will be able to see how it panned out. And we'll do a report. Steve, I need
Okay.
your yeses and nos.
I'll have to write them on a different piece of paper so you can give it to me.
Okay.
You want a scrap paper?
I can do that. I got it right here.
I also had sent out the interview questions. Does anybody need a copy of that?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, here, I'll pass these down. Maybe I'll give you one. These are just, draft ones if anybody has any suggestions.
Oh, no, right.
Yeah, just that way we can get it mailed
If you
out.
want to do what we did last time, Derek, Karen, Steve, You can send in questions you'd like to have asked. We'll integrate them in just like we did the last
Yeah.
time. And we went down last time in the board. Each interview was done exactly the same, and we'll set it up like we did before. That seemed to work very good. And I'll be honest, your recommendation's gonna weigh heavy with me because she's gonna be working in your office.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, it'll be more, she says, I want this one, and I'll either be a yay or a nay.
Do you want me to hang on to those for you?
Well, because apparently you're worried that I can't do it. No, I'll be fine. Thank you, Mom.
Did you want us to rank, do you want me to rank them, or just put the letters down for yeses?
No, you want to rank them.
Okay, I can do that too.
At least the 6. We had the same thing with Steve when we were looking for your position. All he cared about were the yeses. Well, and normally that would work. We ran into problem at NACFA because one person picked one name that nobody else picked and gave him a 1.
I think
And-
it was me.
And we were going with a low score, and the one screwed up the. I sat there and went, this would have worked. Nope, we had to back up and redo the whole thing. So this time I said, we're going to get this right. Okay. Do we have a public comment, or are we done?
Public comment?
I buried the agenda.
Yeah, public comment and then adjournment.
Yep, so we have one more public comment. Okay, Anna, you're the only public that hasn't had a chance to speak. Our presenters were here and left, and Mr. Mattson got to speak, so go ahead.
Anna Matson, 15091 Western Valley. If you could take a moment and maybe explain, I know there's a lot of people that watch the meetings. A lot of people are obviously stressing concern over construction. So it might be nice if you could address what is in your jurisdiction in terms of road closures and roads being torn up and everything, and what's not, and maybe explain like a county road versus a township road and stuff like that, because a lot of people are just concerned that they're not given warning, and from my understanding you're not given very much warning either. So if you could just address that on the record so people can refer to it, that'd
Okay.
be great. Thank you.
So all of the roads in the township belong to the county. They are classified as mainline or primary roads or secondary. Now, North Holly Road, Grange Hall Road, East Holly Road are primary roads. The rest of the roads in Holly Township are secondary roads. And then you have subdivision roads, which are just strictly maintained. If they need to be repaved, that's up to the subdivision residents as to how they do that. That's up to them. The county puts out, I'm going to use the word schedule loosely. They put out a schedule at the beginning of the year that says these are the projects countywide. They then send a notice that says East Holly Road, the bridges over Belford, Laring, I think Davisburg Road are in the northwest section. Those will be the first part of the summer. They don't give us a date. They don't say we're going to be out on the 18th and we're going to do that. And I'll tell you why they don't do that. They have a short window, weather-wise, to run asphalt and to do paving. And those companies bid those jobs, and they go one at a time, and they move along. If a truck breaks down, if a load doesn't show up on time, they don't have control over those setbacks. If Mother Nature rains for 3 days, if they get in the middle of a project and a sinkhole happens or something, they have to stop. As you'll notice, they sent out a crew that stripped the road off. Then they sent out a crew that did some, I don't want to call it curbing, but they paved the aprons because they're no longer leaving them dirt aprons. They have found that if they expand the road over, it's better. It cuts down on the amount of work they have to do from a grading standpoint. So they come out and they do that. And then the paving company, they're paving first project, second project. As soon as they get done with one, they show up in the next. As soon as they get done with it. So they don't give us a hey, we'll be out there tomorrow morning. We just don't get those kind of notifications. We knew they were coming, the first part. You saw the signs pop up. And they worked all day. And if you notice, they paved East Holly Road, the top layer. They paved one end of it one day and the other end the next day. And they didn't stop until they were completed. And they left. Well, I happened to drive down the road and I noticed a few people had a pretty big drop off into their driveway. Well, they have another crew that comes along the next day and they do the shoulder work. So they've got this thing like an assembly line, if you would, and they go through it. So it's unfortunate that we don't have the notice that tomorrow it'll be blocked. It just happens when it does. But it's the most efficient way for the county to get the most done in the small window of summer that we have. And they are actively working. I was up on Belford Road yesterday. They were on top of the bridge with jackhammers, busting up the concrete. They're putting in new rebar. They're rebuilding that bridge. It's my understanding they're going to do that as soon as they're done. The one crew's already doing prep work over on the next one. They're going to move over to Laring, or they might, I don't know which one I'm not even sure which one their order is. They're going to do Davisburg. I think one of them is actually coming out.
I think I got something in the email today, this afternoon, from MDOT on what they're gonna be doing.
Yeah, but it doesn't give you
Not a
dates and
schedule.
start times. They just don't do that. They do them as they move. It's the same way when they did North Holly Road. They came in, they told everybody, here's the process, here's what we're going to do, and they moved along. The end result was they were done ahead of schedule. But they were there from the beginning of summer into October. And they did exactly what they said they would do, and they kept it open for people to move. The sad part is they had all those barricades, all those barrels, those big pieces of equipment, and the first night, some little gal came flying down there, drove through the two barricades, claimed she didn't see them, and when her lights hit the big equipment, she ended in the swamp to miss hitting the big tractor. It was the first night after we had done all that promotion that it was going to start. It's just unfortunate. But, everybody complains the road needs to be fixed. I drove down East Holly Road. It's beautiful. It was inconvenient for a couple days. I sat there and had to wait for the traffic to clear. And I saw a few people hijack it down Fagan Road and go a different direction. And some other people just plain got stuck. But it was 1 day, 2 days. I just don't know that anything better could be done. I don't, but that's the process we go through. I don't know when they're going to chloride the roads. They start coming through. Then I might get a phone call and say, hey, we got halfway down such and such road and some equipment broke. And then we wait for 2 weeks. Those are courtesy calls that I get from our local superintendent. But he often doesn't know when they're coming. Yesterday I met with MDOT and Oakland County Road Commission regarding Furbush. Furbush is a street that the residents over there have been asking, can we do something with? That road was paved 50, 60 years ago when they put I-75 through. It was a service drive. MDOT did it as a convenience to the community because they had all their heavy equipment there and it was causing dust. So they came in and they paved that section so they could move back and forth. When they were done, they were gone, they were left. It's no longer their maintenance, it goes to the county. The county has no justification to repave that because it doesn't have the traffic. So unfortunately what you have is a paved road that's about 70 years old that has patch over patch over patch. The good news is when you drive down it, it's bumpier than all get out. The good news is there's no dust. It actually costs them money to come in and take it back to gravel. Then they would have to grade it, then they would have to chloride it, then you'd have dust, you'd be back where you were. At least this way, it makes it dust-free, and yeah, it's bumpy. I talked to them about could we even do chip seal. For something like that, the township could go into a project like that. We would have to pay for it on a local basis. Now, if the people that live out in that neck of the woods that are affected by that decided they wanted to do that, they could set up a special assessment district by ballot and fix it. Independence Township had a lot of people complaining about wanting the roads fixed out there, and the county only has so much of a budget. Pat Kittle, the supervisor out there, said, okay, how much does it cost me to resurface A, B, C, D, and E? The county gave him a bid, he put it on the ballot, and the voters passed it 51%. They now have a special assessment, they collected the money, and they paved all the roads. So there is some ability. It's up to the community and what they want to do. But that's where we are on the roads. I hope that answers your question. Any comments from anyone else? The board? Board comments? Mr. Burton?
Nope.
Mr. Ruth?
Nope.
Treasurer Ryan?
Nope.
Clerk Winchester?
No.
We're going to call this adjourned at 6:31.